Okay, so I'm gonna call this meeting to order. It is August 6, 2024. It's 6 o'clock at the Halifax Town Office, and this is a regular meeting of the Halifax Select Board. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We have present here Rhonda Ashcraft, Tristan Roberts, and Edie Edwards on the Select Board. We have online Stephen Chait. We have in the room with us Emily Karis Duncan. We have Nancy McCrae and Diana Conway. We have David Jones, Randy and Stephanie Pike, and sir, I do not know your name.
Dennis Lefebvre.
Dennis Lefebvre. Nice to meet you. Yes, I do know your name. I just didn't put two and two together. And while I am thinking of it, the very first thing that we need to do is to open some bids. So I'm going to go get and confirm that whether there's any other bids in the thingamabob.
Yeah, there you go.
Meanwhile, Tristan and Rhonda, do you have any changes or additions to the agenda? Oh, I have
Nope.
to go this way. Okay, there were no additional bids in the lockbox.
Nope.
Also known as the thingamajig.
There you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you, everybody, for your patience with me today. This is the second meeting that we've had, and I'm glad to see you all here. And I will try to keep calm and reduce chaos throughout the meeting as much as I can. There are copies of the agenda over here. There are also copies of a presentation that I'm going to be doing later. And let's go ahead and get started with the first item on the agenda, which is a bid opening for the town garage roof.
Just one, two.
I see two. Now, Tristan was our contact person and did a site visit with the vendors here. And so it will be likely that Tristan will be asked to review the bids in more detail.
I think we're not planning to make a decision on the bids tonight.
Correct,
Anyway.
but we do want to open them per the time frame.
Yep.
Oh, I hear a baby.
You hear a baby.
Oh.
Yes. Thanks for calling in because I have a sick mother and a sleeping baby attached to me. So
All right.
nice to be able to call in. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna speak to the first bid here, which is from a person whose name is Dennis Rector. He has enclosed bids. It says plural. It mentions a recommendation for something called IRIB, which I've never heard of before. Your gable rakes would be covered by metal trim. Should you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out. So the bids are from Tilton, New Hampshire. The name of the bidder is Drew's Affordable Steel Roofing / Shingle Pro. And the first bid that I am seeing here, total cost of construction is at $77,300 with a 10-year labor warranty on it. And again, the IRIB metal installed over existing with strap and hardware. There's a list of clients in here, 29 pages. And I think that is, I didn't know if there was a single bid or just the one. Looks like maybe there's just the one, but let me see. Oh, wait, no, there's one. But wait, there's more. There's also a bid for $89,725, a standing seam installed over the existing strop with appropriate hardware. Again, a 10-year labor warranty. And then there is the certificate of liability insurance and colors to pick.
Wow.
Okay, sorry. That's my contribution on this bid.
Okay, this one's from Walker Industries, Old Ferry Road, Brattleboro, Vermont. The first one is a standing seam. It's for $147,316, and it has the warranty attached here. It said, it's standing seam install. Want me to read all this or?
Probably the price and any kind of highlights for it.
It just says standing seam, then it custom ridge vent, install 21-inch, 24-gauge standing seam, install 1 bathroom vent, install 2x4 strapping over metal roof. That's for the standing seam, and they got their insurance. The other one is the Duralast roofing. And that's for $82,458. And there is, has a description of the construction method, just like this one.
Okay.
Install 4-inch insulation board. Install Duralast rubber membrane roofing. Install bathroom vent. And that's the estimate, 82,000. And it's got all the warranty stuff here.
Okay.
So those are the two.
Excellent. So, all right, I'm confused by this one, the first one that I opened. So this one, Walker Industries, is Brattleboro, Vermont. This one, director that I originally said was from somewhere else, and the return address says Guilford, New Hampshire, which confused me because, I think of the end of Guilford a
Yeah,
lot. And, so, but then Tilton, New Hampshire is the address on the bid itself, so. Tristan, we will leave these bid packets here in the town office for you. Ideally, you'll be able to come in and sign select board orders. Tomorrow morning. While I'm thinking of it, I guess I'm gonna get to do minutes on this one, just so that everybody knows, but I will be doing them largely from the recording, because I take terrible notes when I'm doing 3 things at once. Any other questions, comments? Tristan, did you have any expectations for additional bids, or does that sound like about what you expected?
There were a couple other inquiries, so I thought we might get a couple more bids, but I'm happy we got connected with those 2 companies, so
Yeah.
glad to see the bid, and we'll look it over and hopefully be ready to discuss at the next meeting.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay. Onward. Sorry while I shuffle papers. All right, the next item on our agenda is rescinding a driveway permit. And I've selected that there would be about 10 minutes for this conversation. I did send material that was prepared by David Jones to the select board members. And in the meantime, the other person involved with the discussion called me and said she would try to come to this meeting, but she is not here. In the context of this particular discussion, I realized that I did not know the process to rescind a permit. And our town attorney is presently on vacation, so I was not able to reach anybody at that office. But I did reach out to VLCT. Their comment back to me, and I just got this afternoon, is advice on what to do with this, what to do about this permit, if anything, should be provided by the town attorney. So I think there are some issues involved with this that are not quite clear to me. My concern is that when we issued a driveway permit, I did not realize the full context around that permit. But I also am realizing if I took action in haste and without full consideration of all of the issues, I don't want to change action under the same circumstances.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it would be acceptable, David, for us to consider this at a separate meeting.
Well, Dennis, how do you feel about that? I don't have any problem with that. As long as it's
we have that meeting, obviously, before anything gets going.
Yes, I did speak to the applicant today by phone. My understanding is that the applicants felt that the issuance of the permit had given them permission to proceed. But I have the understanding that they recognize that that was a mistake, and they will not be proceeding.
Okay.
But Dennis and I do want to have the permit formally rescinded in a meeting. And if that can't happen at this meeting, then we would like to have it happen at the next meeting. And we would like the select board to review its process for issuing permits at the simplest level, ensuring that an address on the permit is valid and the person requesting the permit is the owner of that address would be good practice. And I don't know if there are other criteria that the board would need to look at. So it seems to me it's a learning opportunity. No, it's these days, you know, it's things happen that people don't imagine could ever have happened,
Sure.
but it happened. And so having a process to catch errors like this would be a good thing. So we'll be happy to have that discussion. Are you aiming for the next meeting?
I would aim for the next meeting. The town attorney doesn't get back from vacation until about a week from now. And so we'll put a call in again and just say we need to get, get some understanding here of what indeed the driveway permits, what conditions they set up, how we should be handling them, if there are other checks and balances that we need to implement in the process. And, sincerely, I'm sorry to both parties that, realizing later, maybe I didn't, again, understand the full context of the permit, but also needing to understand who else touches it before it gets to the select board, making sure that everybody on the select board takes the time to review them and not just one person signing them, right? And just really understanding how to make that move smoother for people, for everybody to have the same expectations as to what the process is permitting and what it will be like. And then just again, understanding, I'm really about trying to be visible and trying to be transparent, but how do people find the driveway permit afterwards? Lots of questions that, although I have been on the board before, this happened like my second meeting as the chair after a gap of time, et cetera, et cetera. All that to say, I don't like it if I don't feel like I'm fully aware of what's happening, and I will always do my best. Hey, how are you? Good, welcome. So, Hope, we were just having a conversation about the section of the meeting that you were interested in.
You got there quick. Okay,
We
sorry,
did.
you were a little.
We
delayed.
did, and so just to kind of summarize what we've discussed, in the context of the conversations that we've had together, I did try to reach out to our town attorney. They were not available. I got some advice from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns that said that we should get advice on what to do with this permit, if anything, should be provided by our town attorney.
Oh.
So we are in agreement to move this to the next meeting, and
Oh.
presuming that we get him on the call for that.
Great.
Or available for that.
Okay.
So, and with all of that, I want to say again, just like, I'm sorry if my lack of understanding about context and other issues with this was, has caused us all of us to have some consternation about it. The select board will be trying to look at our processes and improve them going forward. So,
And we understand no further action is going to be taken on the property.
Right, yeah.
And then,
Cleared up, yeah.
yeah.
okay, great. Could I ask you also, because this is my second meeting today. I've just been a little bit crazy. Could I ask you to please make sure you give me contact information again, because I couldn't find it earlier today?
Sure.
And email would be awesome as well. So thank you so much.
Sure, no problem.
Questions, comments from the
Nope,
other
that's
select board
good.
members?
No, that sounds good.
Okay, Tristan, you cool with that? Tristan
I
and
have to
baby
mute-
sleeping
Yeah, I have to mute
together.
and unmute. So if I don't say anything, and you don't need me to vote, I'm good. Just don't. I have to mute and unmute. So if I don't say anything,
Silence
I'm good.
is. Thank you, Tristan. Thank you. Okay. Moving right along. The next thing on the agenda is approval to issue an RFP for V-Trans Structures Grant. We are taking, we have a structures grant. It will be used on Hatch School Road, somewhere near the Beaver Deceiver. Don't ask me about further details on that. We had a note from Karen Christopherson, who is on vacation and not here today, saying she would be happy to take the action item, I believe, of getting this RFP out. So that piece of paper here. Questions, comments? I'd like to make a motion that we ask Karen Christopherson to follow through on issuing an RFP for a V-Trans structure grant on Hatch School Road.
Second,
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 I
Just, thank you.
just have to reach for the unmute button. I'll thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Okay, the motion carries. Wyndham County Sheriff wrote to me and said that there are 8.4 extra hours that they patrolled in town last year that they did not, that we did not pay them for. And their normal procedure is to deduct that from the hours they give us for the current fiscal year. That is their normal procedure. Do we have any objection to saying that is fine with us? Otherwise, I'm guessing we'd get a bill for 8.45 hours, which isn't a
Yeah.
very,
That'd
Big.
be okay, wouldn't it? That'd be all right.
yeah,
Wouldn't
it might be easier to do it as the, let's keep it, you
Yeah,
know, let's let them assume that we're gonna all be good for a while and they don't have to patrol so much for a few days, part of our thing.
yeah,
So,
sounds good. Yeah,
so you are okay with just
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
let them just deduct it from this year?
I would think that'd be thing there,
Okay,
instead of getting
instead of doing another bill.
another bill.
Okay. Excellent. All right, the next item on the agenda is ditch work safety concerns. Now, Rhonda, did you get the message about someone expressing concerns about the ditch work on Jacksonville Stage Road?
Where was,
This came in, I don't know.
was it in the thing there? That,
No, I think she emailed all of us some weeks ago, some days ago, not weeks ago, days ago. So here's what I'm gonna suggest
I
we do is postpone that discussion.
I didn't.
Yep, okay,
Okay.
no worries. We'll
Oh,
carry
my
it to the next
God.
meeting. It's okay. I think Mike might have tried to call you as well, but, and that person is not here, so. Okay, next item on the agenda. This is gonna be my fastest meeting ever. Yes.
Next meeting.
The next item on the agenda is about repaying the budget deficit short-term loans. Patty had sent something saying to the board that we could repay the loan to the Scott Fund at any time that tax revenues are coming in and other funds have been coming in, and that we could choose to repay that. I put it on the agenda because it came in kind of late, but my own personal perspective on that is I have a number of questions about doing that and would prefer to wait until our members who are on the finance committee are back and able to give us some guidance
Right.
on that. There was another fund involved with the payments that I just want to clarify what that fund was and what it was used for.
Right,
And I think it would be advantageous for us to not make a motion to repay something when I don't have the exact numbers and the exact
yeah,
idea.
right,
So,
gotta have all information.
Yeah.
So we'll wait till everybody's here,
but I didn't want to not put it on the agenda.
yeah.
All right, we're on to old business. So, administrative assistant job opening update. I've been working with the, newspaper advertising salesperson to run the ad again. I discovered that the original ad that we ran had the correct website, but did not have a correct email address.
I don't know.
So, we modified the, advertisement slightly. I did put information about that, out on Front Porch Forum, trying to drum up some attention. This position is, part-time. It does not have any, benefits with it, averaging 15 to 20 hours per week, we estimate. And has some flexibility, but other times, like these meetings where we really need that person to be present at a certain given time. And the budget for that is roughly 17,000 for the fiscal year. Some of this sense that I have, at least, of chaos in the meeting has to do with the fact that I don't have an administrator to support me right now
Yeah.
and support the board as a whole. So the drum up interest, if you could, please, all of you wonderful people here.
There you go.
All right. Any other questions on that for now?
No,
All right, let's go into the next thing, which I thought was gonna be the hot item for today. We shall see. I want to talk about the budget process and review that pertaining to our tax rate increases. The select board and the town clerk have been fielding a number of questions on this. And to help me organize my thoughts and perhaps help some community members understand this, I've actually put together a PowerPoint presentation to talk about this. And I will be projecting it on the screen up there. There are also some paper copies over there on the side. And let me figure out how I, in my Zoom meeting on this computer, share my screen. And I want to say, Rhonda and Tristan, got this information in advance per our, ability to just distribute meeting materials for your information only and not discuss them. And I encourage and would honor you to speak up if I say anything that doesn't make sense or that you disagree with or what have you.
okay.
So, all right. That doesn't look too bad. Let me go slideshow mode. All right, so town budget and taxes for FY25. So the first thing that I want to say about this is this doesn't feel good. It feels pretty not great, right? And I know that I've been hearing that from people in the community, and I want to assure you that it doesn't feel good from this side of the table either, right? It was a big increase, and money is a hard thing, right? It's we all grew up with it or without it. We all have a sense of where we are today and whether we have enough or don't have enough. And while a lot of what I'm going to do here today is give you some numbers and some facts and figures, I'm not the warmest person in the world, but that doesn't mean that I don't care about the fact that people are going to have a hard time paying their taxes this year. That said, my perspective has always been that local taxes are a reflection of our shared values as a community and the needs that we have as a community. In our case, we have a school, and we're pretty proud of school here. And we know that educating our children is important, and that is a portion of the taxes. I'm not going to speak to the school budget today because I have no involvement in that, other than being a person that votes on it like you all do from the floor. The biggest part of our municipal budget is transportation. And transportation, it's not glamorous necessarily. And when we end up in a mud season like we've had last year, it's definitely not fun. But it's again, a way for the community to go to work, to go to school, to get around and visit family or friends. And it's an important thing that we budget for. Lastly, to a little bit of an extent, we have things that we do in our budget for caring for others, right? We give some money to the fire department, we give some money to ambulance services. And we have some things like our Halifax Celebration Committee too, right? So there's a lot of different things that we use our local taxes for. And then we gotta bite the bullet and pay for it, right? So Halifax as a community has a lot of roads for the size of the population and also for the tax base. This chart was provided by Wyndham Regional Commission, those guys, and it caught my attention so much that I grabbed it and took a photo of it and then asked them to bring it to the town, because it just showed for me that on the left, Halifax is the #2 town in terms of the number of unpaved roads in the Wyndham region, all of those towns. So we've got a ton of roads, most of them are unpaved. And then if you look at the chart on the right, you can see that we still have a lot of roads, but our grand list is far on the right-hand side of that chart of 1.3 million. And so that's kind of the reality of living in Halifax. And I want to acknowledge that. So what is the process for getting to the tax bill that landed on our tables? The select board proposes budgets from the months of late November, typically through January. They're crafted in open meetings. We don't get nearly enough people coming and sitting and going through those line by line by line with us, but that is what those meetings are about. I didn't go back and look at how many hours we spent this last year doing them, but it's a lot. It's multiple meetings. And I especially want to call out and say thanks to Karen Christopherson, who did a lot of work to prep for those meetings. She did a lot of work to try to understand where all that money was. She's down to the pennies person. She's amazing. And she did a great job to help us understand where our money was going. The voters can change that budget, but town meeting, one of the things that we have to have is a passed budget. If we don't pass the budget, we have to come back and do town meeting again until we pass the budget. So that's kind of one of the few things that we have that has to be done at that meeting. And then along about July, we begin to get the additional data that finalizes the tax rate. And so the town treasurer gets that. I don't know if it comes to her as treasurer or as town clerk, but the state says, here are some numbers, plug these in against your municipal budget, and then you will get a tax rate. And the other thing is then our taxes are actually due on September 30th. And we vote. There's an article that votes that says we're going to do this and they're due by this date. That could be changed if people felt that it might be better for us to have taxes due twice during the year. We can have that discussion as a community. But at this point, September 30th is the due date for the taxes. Again, the school tax follows a somewhat parallel path, and then it converges when we get to that tax rate piece. And we plug the numbers in and the select board signs for both. But there are a lot of other factors as well in this process. What is your own assessed value? What is your status? Are you a resident? Are you a non-resident? What is the overall value of property in the town? Remember that number 1.3, right? Like that matters. And then how are the overall market values tracking? I think everybody knows that housing prices, if you went to sell your house now, it would be a much different thing than if you sold it 3 or 4 years ago. And I can tell you that my assessed value hasn't gone up, despite the fact I've done things like put solar panels on my house, done a kitchen remodel, but those things don't factor in unless I actually have to get a building permit. So that assessment hasn't been updated. And we are looking at a townwide statistical reappraisal coming up soon because those numbers have gotten so out of whack, right? People don't like to hear that now we're also going to reassess the value, but that's the reality. The state says we must do it when these numbers are not fair to everyone, right? It's not fair to me. It's not fair to everybody else that I put solar panels, which should increase the value of my house, but I'm not paying any more on that assessed value, right? We got to figure out how to make this fairer. And then we also have some town voted exemptions. For example, if you are a veteran and you apply in the town, we will cover some $40,000, I think, of your assessed value. The rest of us are going to pay your part of your taxes because you served this nation, right? So that's an exemption that we do. Also, like a lot of the municipal or the buildings, whether it's the fire department or church or whatever, those may be tax exempt as well. And we got to cover those values too. All right, so how did this unfold? We had our first budget meeting in November 28th, 2023. We discovered an error in January 23, 2024, where last year, not the current year, but the previous year, we subtracted one number from another when those two numbers should have been added together. This was not a happy meeting. I advise you not to listen to the meeting recording unless you're prepared to hear some cursing. It wasn't a good thing to discover at the end of the budget season that we had a hole to plug in our budget. So we discussed it again on January 25th, came up with a remedy of borrowing from the Scott Fund so that we wouldn't have a lot of interest rates, and we would be able to do that in relatively short order. We held a meeting for public awareness about this, and then we discussed it again at the informational meeting and at the town meeting. And at the town meeting, the budget passed. It was the fastest town meeting we've had, and it seemed like there was not a single question on that budget. So, as a whole, we tried to do what we could to make people aware of the issue, and we felt that the community was saying, yes, you have a hole, you need to plug it. Oops, that's not the right down button. So this is a little bit of gory detail, but here's the article as it was written. And basically that first number in the first position there should have been, that first number should have been in the position of the second number, right? So the 1.25 million should have been the amount in the raised by taxes clause. The other number was the non-tax revenue. Those two things should have been added together. So that's where the error came in. That's what we discovered. And on the floor at that particular meeting, $100,000 was added for gravel by a townsperson, right? So they decided that we didn't budget enough for gravel and we actually added to the budget. This slide is a little confusing even to me, but the basic issue was we found a hole of $218,500. We were able to plug some of that with a state reconciliation rebate. And we also had to cover an actual operating deficit from FY23. So I will talk about the problem being $180,000. All right. Oh, Tristan has come back. Hang on. Welcome. Okay. The other factor that involved that made the FY24 budget look so small in comparison to the current budget is that in addition to the base budget, we created a whole bunch of reserve articles in that at that town meeting. Those reserve articles, in some cases, we were taking existing money that had been earmarked for it and shunting that existing money in. But in other cases, we were adding to that dollar amount. So for example, we put $300,000 in a resurfacing fund. We put $5,000 in an audit reserve fund. And so we had $328,691 of new funds that didn't get put in that 1.25 million, right? It was, we all voted on it. We all agreed to do it, but it didn't get put in that one number. And for me, over the course of the years, I've always looked for that raise and appropriate amount, right? That's what I've always used as my baseline. But this made it look as though that amount was difficult to add, right? So we did put this chart in the current town report, page 15, to try to explain again, why did this seem so painful? And here's something that I don't know, I started to call this Edie's explanation, because I'm really bad with spreadsheets and stuff like that. So I have a lot of words here, but our fiscal year 25 budget with that revenue shortfall added in the 180,000 was 1.9 million. If we looked at the FY 24 raise and appropriate base, plus that $100,000 that got voted on the floor, that's 1.35 million. And it looks like we raised the budget by 45%. The reality is that we also voted on the FY 24 budget, those new reserve articles. So that 328,000 from before, I added that into this next line. And in that case, when we're comparing apples to apples, stuff we said we were paying for, even though it was in multiple articles, with what we ended up at this year where everything was sort of in one budget, then the difference, the percent difference looks like 16.9%. So the budget went up 16.9% if you look at it, all of that money together. And if this shortfall hadn't happened and you add that 180 back, add the 218, back into to that same base budget and the new reserve articles, then the budget only went up 3.4%. That makes me feel better, but it's not the reality. The reality is the budget still went up 16.9%, right? But it just kind of would indicate to you that we weren't willy-nilly throwing stuff into the budget. We weren't adding stuff. In fact, we took $100,000 out of paving that we didn't do the same amount of paving because we knew that this was going to be a problem. But that makes me feel like, again, we tried to do our due diligence to get a budget that would work as best it could for the town. Oops, keep trying to push the wrong button. This is a page that just has the tax rate increase. The tax rate includes those things like the common level of appraisal, how far off are the values of the actual values of our house versus what your tax assessment is. It shows the percentage increase on the school tax homestead rate for the town of Halifax and the non-residential rate for that. And then it tells you that the total homestead tax rate went up 21%. And the total non-residential tax rate went up 26%. All right. All this explanation doesn't change the outcome, unfortunately. People, again, have been expressing sorrow, despair, anger, a lot of stuff about their tax bills. And, one of the things that I feel sometimes at times in my life when I haven't had as much as I thought I should have, so I actually feel like a sense of shame about that. I'm like, oh man, my family grew up not upper middle class. I can say that, right? But there shouldn't be any shame. If you can't pay your full tax bill, our recommendation is that you pay as much as you can by September 30th. That will reduce any interest and penalties that you will need to cover. We do encourage people to come to the budget meetings, all the help we can get to try to look at and scrutinize what we have. And in the budget, it's important, right? Because we don't want to make the decisions for you. We want you to be involved in that process. If you're eligible, please register and vote. Pitch in and run for office, right? And then another thing somebody said to me is like, this would have been front page news. And I'm like, you know what? Deerfield Valley News has been looking for a staff reporter for a long time. We used to have coverage of these meetings. We don't anymore. There's not enough coverage in the press. And, you know, again, if you got some skills to write, it's a nice way to contribute to the town and make sure that your neighbors know what's going on. The spreadsheets have been updated so that we can calculate these numbers more explicitly for the warning. It was, as I said, spreadsheet's not necessarily my first thing. And the spreadsheet that I set up years and years ago is one that we've kind of largely been following. And I do think it was a confusing way to try to calculate those numbers. Karen has fixed that. And lastly, I think I can say for the whole select board that we want to continue to learn. We want to continue to communicate. We want to figure out how to budget effectively. So I don't know if that answers any questions, but that was my attempt to give you guys some context around the budget. And I'm happy to take questions. Tristan
That was
and
good.
Rhonda, thoughts?
That was good. Sure was stuff.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing if I can figure out how to get my mouse over there. I have to do it on this computer up here. It's too many mice.
I know.
Okay. Thank you for listening to that. Hope it was helpful. Next on our agenda is second mowing of the landfill. You sure there's no comments about that, by the way? Let me pause. I would like to hear from you guys. Comments about the tax rate, David.
Okay, well, the tax rate is painful for everyone. I have confidence that the select board and the finance committee or a subcommittee of the select board did a good job in assembling the budget and considering the options. And I don't think anybody identified any clear opportunities to make the budget lower than it was. And I think that I personally like the idea that the school board budget passed right away. Knowing, I knew, and I could assume that others knew, that if you looked at the increases in that budget, it was for paying, it was for more teachers and more teacher salaries, which I'm in favor of, because those are very important people. So all in all, I feel that the process was good. A lot of the increase that we're seeing appears to be in comparison to the previous budget in which there was this error. So that's the shock. That's the main component of the increase in dollar numbers. And then we have I think there are some state tax policies that play a role. Now, I don't have a clear understanding of it, but I feel that the select board did a good job. And so, you know, we just have to deal with the reality of what we have to pay for.
Okay. Steph, were you gonna say something as well?
I just appreciate the work, and I know it's not easy to say we made a mistake, so I appreciate that transparency. I definitely still think we need to tighten the reins, tighten the belts.
Where we can,
A lot.
obviously, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And so
Oh, there's a bird in here.
oh,
Oh, wow, well done.
Everybody wanna
Oh,
breathe
the
with
poor
me? Let's just all
thing.
breathe together. And the bird.
He's banging up against the wall. out there. Isn't that weird? How'd he get in here?
I think somebody propped the door open. If you guys in the back want to open those windows again, please feel free to do that.
It was so noisy when we had.
It was, there were some children outside. Yeah, okay.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, excuse me, so lost my voice. The borrowed money that came from the Scott fund, that obviously. It seems like that was not added in there to be paid back. I didn't quite follow that part.
Yes,
So
that
we
was,
still owe that over and above,
right,
correct?
right. We owe what we borrowed from the Scott fund, and we actually decided to jump over repaying it today.
Right, yeah, I
Um,
caught that part.
yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
that's going to at some point make it look like another increase.
No, because we budgeted for it. We budgeted
Okay.
that there was a
Okay.
hole and that we would need to
Well,
cover
there
it.
it is.
So that's not gonna add
That number is
anymore.
that,
Right.
that part I couldn't quite
It's-
follow and all that, so.
I got you. I got you.
but-
All right, great. Anyone else want to chime in on budget, tax rate? Okay, anybody online? Okay, we'll move on from that conversation to the second mowing of the landfill. We did get a report that our landfill cap was looking better. The
Mhm.
sumac had been removed. The civil engineer was happy with that. We do need to do a second mowing of the landfill, which I went ahead and authorized, but there is a tree down that needs to be cleared off, and I asked the people who do the mowing if they could give a quote for that, and I guess I didn't get it before this
Oh,
meeting.
is it a big tree?
Barely. I wasn't gonna go out with a handsaw.
No.
Um, yeah.
No.
yeah, and I did ask if the highway department thought they should do it, but they were concerned that the wheeled excavator would make deep grooves in the landfill cap, and that the people who are doing the mowing
I'm
have
trying to
a
think, don't they use?
track excavator.
Oh, okay.
So I said, okay, so anyway, just to let you know, that is underway.
Why do they mow the landfill?
So, so our landfill had a bunch of sumac trees growing out of it. And the landfill cap, well, the landfill cap had some sludge put on it, which had these forever chemicals
I'm
in it.
aware, because our house.
You got that, you got that.
Yeah, we're all,
So-
we know.
Yeah, so what the recommendation from the civil engineer was that they should saw those sumac trees down at the ground, but not pull them out, not disturb the cap. And now in order to keep that clear, they're gonna brush hog it once or twice a year.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just to maintain the integrity of what's there.
Is the next article like about cleaning up that? 'Cause I see the hazard mitigation grant, is that?
It is not.
Oh, okay.
It is not, no.
Can I say one more thing about the PFA?
Yes,
I was wondering if, because I know, in the spring and the fall, they test for the PFAS chemicals, and they've been testing different wells, and they've tested ours a couple times. Would it be possible to test the Branch River? Because we swim in there and fish in there, and it's before our house, so if our house were affected, then that would be affected.
my understanding of how the chemicals work is that they do get dilute. So that is never, to my knowledge, and I have some older history and then have a gap in my knowledge, that's never been recommended. And in fact, it felt like the hydrology person was saying that the down gradient of this flow of the groundwater, that would be more towards 112, right? That's where the steepness is and how the water flow in their estimation. They had some beautiful map that I haven't been able to find again, how that flow would work. I can check on that, Hope, and just try to find out if there's any recommendation to do that.
Yeah.
We are just as a update, as of this year, we got told that we only needed to test in the spring. So they basically said, we see the pattern, we know the pattern, it's higher in the spring, lower in the fall, and we're just gonna suggest that you do it once a year.
So based on the testing, is there like a cleanup effort at some point, or are they just gonna keep testing it?
They're just gonna keep testing it because these chemicals do take a really long time to degrade. The testing within Halifax is not great, but it's also not nearly as severe as what they have over in North Bennington.
Yeah.
And so we're following the guidance of the state. And there are also, we are aware that the EPA has changed the PFAS detection limits and so forth. And basically, we are, too small as a town to have, the expertise to know how to handle this. So we really are relying on the state. They've been very good about coming in, telling us what we should think about. And I've always said, like, I'm concerned, but I'm not panicked, right? I'm concerned, but I'm not panicked. Let's keep an eye on this.
But you live farther away than we do.
I do. And I've never tested my well, and I always have said I should, but it's, yeah. Understood. Okay. All right, hazard mitigation grant project list review and the date extension. So there is a hazard mitigation round of funding that is happening, which would not require a town match. We are intending to put in for 3 projects. One is culverts on Hubbard Hill Road. One is culverts on Stark Mountain.
Something like that, is that?
Was it still there?
Still.
Stowe Mountain. I think is it, which one is closer?
Stark Mountain. I'm pretty
Start
sure.
mountain.
Okay.
The one closer to the state line.
No, yeah, it's
The one on
actually,
the state-
okay,
Oh,
Stowe
that's
Mountain,
not the one?
Stowe Mountain is the one then,
Okay.
yeah,
So man goes to the mailboxes in the center.
yes, Stowe Mountain Road,
Okay.
culverts. And then the the other one is the bridge from Branch Road onto 112. I attended a meeting about those. Karen Christopherson has been sort of leading that charge. At some point with the board, I would like to talk about whether we really should submit for all 3 of those projects. At some point, we have to do a benefits cost assessment, and I'm really not clear whether we have the data to do those benefits cost analysis, and whether, in particular, my question has been, the bridge was not affected by Tropical Storm Irene. It wasn't, there was no repairs made to that bridge. There was no, so I just don't know how we're gonna justify that as a mitigation activity. It's also pretty high up, and it just, I just don't know if it will
So that's
fly.
that's that bridge right here. Where is it? This one?
Yeah, I mean, bridges are expensive. I'm gonna agree to that. I just don't know if this grant would have a likelihood of covering it. And as much as I think the town should apply for grants when it can, it also takes a boatload of effort. It takes a boatload of effort to do that, and I don't want us to waste our time putting in for grants if there's no way we're actually gonna get something back from it. So, but the good news is that deadline to do that initial pre-application is now August 30th, which is great, because then Karen can deal with it when she comes back, and we can put this on the agenda again for the 20th. If we want to talk about it some more. Comments on that?
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Hearing of visitors is next. I'm gonna start with Stephen on the screen.
Thank you. No, I don't have anything for today. Thank you.
Okay. David, anything else?
Oh, no, I'm continuing to work with Rhonda on the connectivity program. We're getting toward the end of the school family list, and about to come to the end of the first responder list. And we'll collaborate on how to move forward.
Okay.
Then it's the seniors, right?
What? Sorry.
The seniors is next.
Right, and how we do that is going to be an interesting challenge.
Yeah, it always is. Yeah, it's a special time in your life.
Yes. Yes. Randy, anything else?
Well, we're gonna get to, I think, the informational hearing. Are we gonna get to any of that tonight, or is that,
So we actually held that meeting this morning.
okay,
It was recorded. I do have minutes from Kara Chayette did our minutes for us, and I've got the YouTube video that's now on the channel, but I haven't posted the minutes yet with the YouTube. Just as a note, there's a possibility that we would do a redux of that meeting if we are required to do it. So, we would post that the way we post everything else, but I'm trying to get to a sense of like, we held the meeting, did we meet all the requirements? And if not, is there a way we can remedy that now?
okay, so I have one question, if I could
Yes.
ask it about that.
Sure.
It's about the excavator.
Yeah.
And it says it was purchased in 2009. Was 2009 the first year that we actually had an excavator?
I doubt it.
Because I don't remember, it doesn't seem like it's been that long that we've actually had the excavator. I know time flies. When you get to be my age, you'll know.
Yeah.
But anyway, we had an excavator that we had, I don't even remember how long, 3 or 4 years probably, and then it burned.
Was it an excavator or was it a truck?
No, it was an
Oh, that was
excavator.
the
Okay,
excavator.
all right.
So
that
there
might have
actually
been
was a
pre-me.
truck as well.
Okay, yeah.
So we then replaced the excavator.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if, I was just trying to think back. It seems like, and obviously you have more records than I do.
Yeah,
It's just something you could look into to see if, was 2009 when we first purchased the excavator, it then burned and then we replaced it. I'm just not, it just doesn't seem like we've had this excavator for 15 years, but again, I
Okay.
could be wrong.
yeah, with the
Something to
9,
look into.
yeah, with the 9,000 hours, Mike didn't mention this morning
No.
that it was one that had been in any way replaced or
Yeah.
refurbished.
didn't-
I can ask him too.
Yeah, and
Let's see.
Patty had given me some figures about,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna find that piece of paper, because that was in this morning session. About the fact that we were able to get a 10-year loan on some equipment, but Mike didn't think it was the
Right,
excavator. in
that's
the
what he
end.
said.
So, yeah, and just as something that wasn't in the slides, but that was a comment that Mike made, was he has been asking for pricing to refurbish it,
Yeah.
so you got that, okay, cool. All right. Hope, do you have anything else?
I
Any
just want,
visitors? Okay, all right, Dennis,
No, all
Okay.
set.
Emily. Welcome.
I'm like Harris Duncan. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm running for the House of Representatives. I live over in Whitingham. My general focus is on education and taxes and trying to bridge the gap between these very, very important issues. But I'll be around after the meeting if anybody has any questions for me, and I can be happy to talk.
Perfect.
Thank you for coming. Nancy? Diana? Hi,
Hi.
Mary, right?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Edie, met years
Hi.
ago.
Yes, yes, we were at, well, I believe the last select board, meeting,
Mhm.
just wondering, we have an ash tree on our property and we were wondering, at the last meeting if the town might in any way, be able to help address the cost of removing that tree.
Okay. This was the meeting that I got kicked off of
With the
because you all had an
horrible
electrical
That was a
storm.
bad storm. It
Yeah,
Yes.
was bad.
you were here for it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if anybody assigned themselves to look into that in any way,
No, I
shape or
don't.
form? Okay,
I haven't heard anything.
I
Is-
also had the question. Kristen, go
maybe
Is
ahead.
the tree in the town, is it tree in the town right of way?
It is, it's right along Buckland Hill Road,
Okay.
that goes right up
Well-
behind our.
We should really, I'd like to suggest you contact our tree warden, Sue Kelly, let her know about that and share your concern. The town has been, the town put money this year into removing ash trees on Collins Road, and we've been trying to just budget an amount every year to take down hazardous ash trees in the town right away. But it's a big job and we don't necessarily have a plan or funding to do it all. We've asked, as a select board, we said to, any property owners that are able to manage their own ash trees, whether in the town right away or not, and do so safely themselves or the contractor, that's going to be the fastest and surest way to take care of ash trees, knowing that taxpayers can't really foot the bill for all of them. But the tree warden has been a really strong voice in advocating for town action, coordinated action across the town, and we could start that this year and plan to continue it. So just stay tuned for that.
I can say, Tristan, because I followed up with Sue about the, not your issue, but during the budget season, I reached out to Sue and she said that she wasn't gonna ask for any budget this year for the current fiscal year because she didn't have that matching grant. So the first year that we did it, the town only had to put in 5,000 and we got a $5,000 matching grant. So she did not ask us to put anything in the budget, and we did not put anything in the budget for that. So if it were something that the board felt that we should be taking action on, we would need to figure out where it would come from in the budget. And I do recall, like, I saw in the minutes from that meeting that we, that Mike had said he did not have the equipment. The highway department doesn't have the equipment.
You did
to
get
send him
in
for it.
touch with the warden, the tree warden, right?
We did talk to. Susan.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said.
Yes, we had.
Yeah.
And we do realize that the town, does have a limited budget, so do we. And we have other trees in the past that we have had to remove, and it's just if any help could be afforded, we would greatly appreciate it.
Okay, I appreciate you coming in.
This is one that the town is.
Yeah, and this is something to, we're gonna be starting the budget for the next fiscal year in November, December. And this is an example of an item that people can come to that budget meeting and say, we should put more money to it, we should put less money to it. But these are the kinds of things that do take money to town, and encourage people to show up and give your input as to how much and whether to do that.
I'm curious if there's any other, like, ones that have been noted by the tree warden as, current issues. I know they did an inventory. There's one on my road where 2/3 of the tree are down and the other third is caught up in a tree and it's hanging like up on this tree that's keeping it up. But when that goes, it's gonna be on our road. On the other hand, it's also far enough off the road that I'm like, I don't think it's actually in the town right away. But if we had some sense from Sue, if there were any others,
Yeah.
I don't know. Having a defined plan of what we cut is really the best option. But it's gonna be really expensive if
Yeah.
we say, go to this end of town, go to that end of town. And I don't know how much they cost per tree, but it's scary stuff and they have to have the right equipment to
With
do it.
With this, we did lead quite a thorough census. So we actually have a pretty good map of exactly where there are potential hazard trees. And as you can imagine, it's
This tree is dead. It could fall at any time. It is hanging over our shop. As I said, it could go at any time.
Mhm.
When we got back from the last town meeting, 3 trees were down on our property that had fallen from that storm. Thankfully, that one did not, because it will fall on our shop.
Yeah.
And Buckland Hill Road.
Okay, all
Is
right.
there any ARPA money that is available to help in this kind of a situation?
We have spent the ARPA money, which was our goal and objective was to spend that so that it couldn't be clawed back from the federal level. And we do not have anything left over, but thank you for the idea.
The tree, basically, the tree is on town property. And has been for years. It should have been taken out years ago. And it never has been. And so that's actually the main reason that we have asked for a little bit to get some aid in getting this thing out.
Mhm.
Because the town does have a certain amount of responsibility for a tree that's sitting in town property.
Mm,
And that's the only reason that we had
I get it, yeah.
approached it.
Yeah. So, as a board, do we want to put this on the agenda to rediscuss? Or do we feel like we at this point don't really have budget to offer to do that? Do we
I'd like
want to
to-
check?
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. It sounds like just maybe asking Sue to come in and give us as a board a refresh on her inventory and where we stand with that. Might be good at going into budget season anyway.
Sue Kelly.
Oh, Sue Kelly.
Yeah. Okay. Did I hear all the visitors?
I was just reminded,
Yes,
that I should mention, we did get an estimate. It was
Oh.
$1,500.
1,500, okay.
And Randy had mentioned to, I think Billy Adams and.
Have you seen him yet or no?
We have not. You said he was busy and
He's
we've been
crazy
busy
busy.
too. Yeah, I get it. It's hard to reach anybody today. But I think you mentioned 1,600 was his quote.
I don't remember if he had a quote, but I think he,
Well, he had talked to somebody who had a truck that could,
okay,
and they would come in higher than 1,500.
yeah.
Oh, and they were extremely busy and
Yeah, you may not be able to get to it.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right, that's helpful information as well. All right, so I'll follow up to try to get Sue in and just let us know where things stand and, if she's been made aware of any other issues. Okay, next up, we have approval of the previous meeting minutes. Everybody's favorite activity. Let me see. First one is June 18th. Oh, Mary Brewster's in the waiting room. Admit. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen, and see if this methodology will help us get through these a little bit faster than other times.
Thank you, Edie.
Thank you, Stephen. Are you headed off?
Yes, I am.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Hi, Mary, welcome. We're just doing, we're gonna start to do meeting minutes. Did you have something in particular you wanted to share with us today?
No, I'm just listening.
Okay, we just finished hearing of visitors. We're steaming ahead with a lot of stuff today, at least it feels like to me. It's only been an hour. All right, so these are the meeting changes minutes that I proposed in for the June 18th meeting. Some of them are grammatical differences. I wanted to note under bids open that this was prices for all delivered products. I added some information about the fuel contamination problems and noted that this overrode a cost differential of $2,000. So I wanted to actually document in the minutes why we spent more. We spent more to avoid a concern about having contaminated fuel. There is some clarification on Saladino's name. Fixed Sheriff Anderson's title. Patrick McAllister resigned, but he didn't give us an effective date that night. Talking about the election. And added the meeting recording. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from June 18th, 2024 with those corrections and changes.
I second it.
Okay. Tristan, any input on this one?
Nope.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. All right, let's see if we can do the second one. That didn't seem to be too painful.
Nope.
Okay. June 27th. Suggestions. Okay, so this one was a special meeting. We had Olivia at this one.
Oh, that's cute.
This is Patrick's resignation letter. We actually appointed him the same day. So he resigned, but we appointed him because we knew we wanted to have this special election to bring him, to bring someone new on the board. Doug asked about the election format. So it's a pretty short thing. I just made a couple of minor edits. I would like to make a motion that we approve these minutes of the June 27th, 2024 minutes as corrected.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Kristen,
Must be busy.
you must be busy. Tristan, if you can come off mute and say aye on that one, we'll pass that one. I'm gonna move on to the next one. And get that up. We're behind on the meeting minutes, guys. It's a painful process, trust us. And we keep trying to make it better, but
Oh,
I love that recording. That's gonna be a stellar recording for why we need high speed in Halifax. Thank you, Tristan. All right, July 2nd, 6 p.m. We've got Nancy. Did I get your name spelled right finally? Oh, wait, is this one Sharon? Looks like we're not sharing the right one. Let me stop share and start share again.
Tristan, by the way, got kicked off.
He got kicked off again.
He's
For
not
heaven's
back
sakes, he's not back yet. All right. Let me try again. All right, keep an eye out for if he comes back in here too. So I got Nancy McCrae's last name spelled properly, I hope.
I can't see it.
It's a McCrea.
Correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah. And Cassie McLaren came in. We had Mr. Gantz come and introduce himself. Bank financing. 10-year financing, stuff about the articles. Stuff about the rails and trails policy. Oops, there's some changes. Spelling counts. Cause I do search these all the time, so it's really kind of like this is, and also I am a former English major. You just have to live with that. That's a horrible cross to bear. Okay, so if we don't get Tristan back on, I think this will be a moot thing, but if he can take some time to review them, we'll come back to this one. And the last one was the 22nd. Let me just look at that one. See if Tristan was even at this meeting for sure. So we would have the quorum. I'd like us to consider as a board changing meeting minutes approval to something that is the majority of the people there as opposed to a majority of the board.
right.
Yeah, Tristan was at this one. Let's take a quick, I don't think I have any input for the 22nd because it was a short meeting and I wrote it, so it must be perfect.
There you go.
Perfect. Yeah, that was where we were doing the highway department reviews, so.
All right, so that was.
All right,
yeah.
so we'll put these two on the next time. They keep coming
Okay.
back. We do not have any reason for an executive session. Other business, special town meeting, August 13th, please vote. Do we have any other thing there?
But I know.
Okay.
Your friends
Correspondence,
to run, please.
yes. Correspondence, one thing I want to note, Rhonda, is that there is there's a thing called the town fair, which is
Yeah.
gonna be up in Killington. It is an opportunity for us to gather with others in the state who do what we do. It's something, if you have an opportunity to and time to go to it, it might be a useful thing for someone learning the ropes. And I actually was asked to be part of a panel discussion on, kind of a day in the life of a select board member. And I said, yeah, that sounds like fun.
Really?
So, and Tristan just is coming back into the room.
I just got kicked
Cease.
off. I'm coming back. I don't know
Yes.
what's going on.
Thank you, Tristan. We are just into the correspondence. And I noted that I am going to go to Town Fair, which is at Killington. There's also a remote day, I think, October 2nd. But at Killington, I agreed to speak as part of a panel on the role of the select board member. So I am going to go this year and encourage others on the board to go to meet, greet, learn what this role is all about, etc. So you surely
Glad you're
got
going
your,
to this. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. In correspondence, Tristan, just to let you know, there is a series of copies of checks for the national opioid settlement that Patty had left out for you today. And she is wondering if these are still passing through to the Voices of Hope. And if yes, we can put that on the next select board order. I don't remember when we made that motion, how
We
long.
really
we
ought to, I think, just check in on that as a board and make that a formal decision. We're receiving checks, pretty small dollar amount checks regularly on the settlement. And we did move as a board now over a year ago to just forward that money. At that time, it was roughly $200 accumulated, and we sent it over to Voices of Hope in Wilmington. I would encourage us to continue to do that, but I think given that we don't vote on it, the board is an ongoing thing.
Yep, and it looks like there's probably more like $300 in here based on a quick non-math major calculation. I'll put it on the agenda for next time. So, other things in the file, a bunch of certificate of liability insurance that I don't know where to file, and other stuff that it's already been reviewed. Tristan, we're gonna come back to those other minutes another day. And the next thing up is select board order, which is a big pile of paper of what we need to buy this. What do we need to pay for? What are our bills? All right, I'm gonna read the order in. I have not looked at the order, nor has Rhonda, and Tristan will need to come in and sign it, but I'll just tell you guys what we are paying for here, presuming we have the proper documentation. We have a bill for all service for toner. It is in the amount of $22.90. We have a Bank of America payment for a Lister mailing of $6.30. We have Bank of America computer subscriptions in the amount of, this is interesting because there's two lines here. $106.29 and also something for $99.99. So I'll sort that out. One of these might have just been put in the wrong column. Our recycling bill from Casella is $454.58. Consolidated communications for the Halifax Fire Company Internet is $126.72. Consolidated communications for the phone and internet otherwise is $421.01. Our copier lease from Great American Financial Services is $975. Green Mountain Power streetlights, $115.90. Landfill services from Cass. This is the cost of that testing and monitoring of this. It's $3,504.98. Mary Brewster for a Lister salary, $1,000. Mary Brewster as delinquent tax collector, the penalty from the tax sale was $202.87. Mary Brewster, delinquent tax collector from July, $122.88. New England newspapers advertisements, $242.40. Patricia Dow, town clerk salary, $2,187.50. Patricia Dow, treasurer salary, $1,666. Patricia Dow, Lister wages, $212.50. The Southeastern Vermont Economic Development, this is the appropriation we voted on, $2,184. Tina Blaze, Lister salary, $906. Tina Blaze, planning secretary, $176. Actually, sorry, the first one was $906.25. The next one's $176 for planning secretary. The Vermont Department of Labor, a late filing penalty fee, not good, $99.90. Vermont League of Cities and Towns, a workshop, $20 for Mr. Blaze to go to the town meeting tune-up. William Moore, assistant town clerk, $280. Wyndham County Humane Society contract fee, $385. Wyndham County Sheriff Law Enforcement Services for September, $833.33. And the Wyndham Regional Commission Town Assessment is $2,056.26 for a grand total of $18,302.27.
Now that first one there, like recycle, what's that for?
So that recycling is those bins up there.
Oh,
And that's the one I asked after town meeting if we wanted to pay $20,000 a year, and y'all said you did. So it's not on me. I asked.
no, I thought that was, well,
Yeah,
whatever,
anyway,
we can't.
yep, next year we can talk about it
Better watch
again.
it, watch it.
Um,
Quick,
Yes, he's got a
real quick
question.
question.
of course,
The well testing one was
Yeah.
3,000, whatever.
Yeah.
Is that a once, you said that's a once a year thing now?
that's a once a year thing now, yeah. And I haven't looked at the bill to see if it's any much different
Yeah.
from before. It's like, I was thinking it was more in the neighborhood of 2,000, but that's again, probably an old memory.
So that amount for just testing one time?
That's one time.
Once a year or-
We did ask them to test
Yeah.
we do ask them to test the town garage well. Because we have employees there and they're drinking bottled water anyway, but that had to detect once. And it hasn't had a detect since. None of the other wells that we've tested in town have had a detect.
And how many are there approximately?
Of the
I
number
mean,
of
I can
wells.
think of a few right around.
So the ones that we've done the Rafus well numerous times, like 7 or 8 times. We did the town garage well, probably the next most number of times.
Yeah.
Feelings well, Tamburino
Yep.
before, so that one was done once. There's another property owner who has consistently refused to allow us to test. And that is probably the one that I'm most concerned about, given
Right.
its location. But
Right.
if the property owner refuses to let the town test, we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I got told absolutely not next time I went to ask about that question, so.
Wow.
And I think, although we still need to sign the order, I think it's time to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
Any objections?
Nope.
All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Your no objection was the second, by the way. All right, we're gonna stop the recording and
Thanks
thank
very
you.
much. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
And stop.
Oh,
recording.
boy.
Stop. Does that look like?
Oh, did the bird leave?